Can't be your front yard, can't be your backyard for this project. Could also be open public space in town. Any parks nearby we could add to. Any parking lots in town that are public space we could add trees to. But 20. We gather that list. We set up maintenance plans. The homeowner agrees that they're going to take care of that tree. And then we can go and apply for this program. The New Jersey Tree Foundation then works with us to find grant money. And that's essentially how this program works. This is something that is a near future sort of goal. We don't know if it's going to happen. We never know if it's going to happen, but it's something we're working towards. And so I wanted to share that with you all. And that's part of gathering this interest. The handouts you were given, you can fill out that form if you are interested in a tree, and that can become part of our list. And so this is my last slide, and I wanted to show you this. It presents a really stark contrast, and these are 2 streets in Audubon. And the left shows what the potential is, and what we could have, and what people 50 years ago wanted. And the right shows the opportunity. And so there's a famous Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And so what are we doing now for 20 years from now? What are we doing now to ensure that our town looks like that in the future? So just some sources, some research I did if anybody's interested. Any questions? Concerns, feedback? Yes?
I have just a very general question. You mentioned that a lot of trees were coming down because of work being done by the utilities. I mean, we just went by Walnut Street. 3 mature trees were just taken down. 1 may have been diseased, the other 2 were not. I mean, totally taken down. What recourse do we have? Is there anything we can do about it?
So, as a town, PSC&G, from what I understand, we do not. There's a separate entity. They sort of own that space. And Mayor Rob, maybe you can speak to this as far as, if we have any recourse as far as an environmental group in town to have them talk with us first. But Mayor Rob is certainly more well-versed on the utility companies.
Yeah. We try not to take away from Amy, but I was prepared to answer whatever tonight. So when PSCG does that, they do contact us first. They contact our administrator and talk to our DPW. If we really say, no, you gotta keep it, but when it's up near the lines and it's around the lines, there's little we can do. Because our neighbors, as much as we love our trees, our neighbors don't let their power out for days at a time during a storm. So that's why they come. It's upsetting. I'm getting texts early today. They're very aggressive. Yeah, they are.
Yes.
They are. I went to some, I've not been in office for very long, but I asked some experts, can I go to them and exactly what you suggested, Amy? Could I tell them every tree you take down, can you give us money to replace it somewhere else? I got laughed at before I even went there. I'll probably still ask PSC&G because I really don't care if you laugh at me. So, but the guy who's been around for about 3 years doing this, he said, you're going to get laughed at, but, I didn't get a chance to write that email yet today, but I will. As far as any recourse, I have no problem with you call PSC&G. And if you do, I know a few of you want to talk about the streets too, so please do so. And if you feel that's a dead end, the DPU, the Board of Public Utilities, does oversee that. I'm swimming upstream here. It's very difficult to stop the utilities. I mean, we don't need them, right? It's all vital stuff. But they do have a lot of control over everything they do because, again, we love our trees, but if it's going to impact thousands of others during a storm or something, then it's a problem. So there's that balance. One of my DPW guys did decide to come tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, I am
100%, I see it first. I actually do the tree work down.
Oh, great.
And I see it firsthand how many trees that have been removed by myself, by the utility companies. The issue we're having is, especially the trees that you said, if the utility company has to come and be aggressive and take it off the line, if they take more than 25% of the tree out, the tree's essentially going to die. The one tree was absolutely diseased, it did have bacterial spores on it, as you said. The other tree on the 300 block was the type of tree that we've been told by multiple different arborists in the state, the ash tree, they want them down completely regardless of health. Because they invite invasive pests that can spread disease from tree to tree that will end up killing the rest of the trees on the block and compromising the other ones. The ones they took down, I saw, they absolutely need to come down with how much they were going to have to take out, and the one they had to top completely. So I'm not going to leave a tree up that's top disease to spread to other trees. Unfortunately, with this town, we do have a lot of trees coming to maturity. There's a lot of trees that are getting bacterial leaf scorch, like the leaf blight you said. And unfortunately, I have to look at it as, can I take the hazard out without killing the tree? If I can't do that, I can't leave the tree up. Kids walking to school, property damage. And unfortunately, the stuff under the lines, we really can't control. PSE wants to, they can trim whatever they want out of that tree. We have no control over that whatsoever. But if they're going to take more than 25% of that tree out, it will absolutely kill the tree. And I'm sure you know more than I do, you're the horticulturist. I don't want to misrepresent myself. I am not a certified tree expert, and I'm not an arborist. I'm here because we absolutely need to plant trees. Because I go down streets like Audubon Ave, and I'm like, there's nothing left, and it's hot, and we work in the street, and it's a very much a problem. And I've been advocating for planting for years. And when I first got here 15 years ago, they planted trees, and people ripped them out of the ground, cut them at the base, threw them in the middle of the street. The biggest problem you're going to run into is community involvement. And it starts.
So that's why we want someone who wants the tree.
That's why we want willing
But
volunteers.
can we take a moment? We have a DPW guy, he started here 15 years ago. Over that time, he's become an expert. He's an expert on this stuff. And did you hear it? He has a passion to save those trees just as much, if not more, than you and I do. So let's take a moment and be grateful we have that at our DPW. So that he keeps more trees up than some of our neighbors want. So he's fighting for us every day. So let's feel good about that on one level.
Sorry about being long-winded. I said,
Yeah.
I agree. No, I agree.
And I do want to talk about the budget. This year, my plan was I want to put trees into the budget. A couple of things happened to get in the way. The Governor Murphy changed or increased the cost of health care for our employees. For us, that's about a $250,000 increased cost. Let me put that into context. We're only allowed to raise taxes this year about $150,000 to $160,000. So by law, I can't raise enough taxes to pay for health benefits for our employees or police department or DPW. And then, when I got elected to office 6 years ago, recycling was a revenue generator. The budget you'll see we propose later in April, we have to budget $100,000 to get rid of our recycling. So this weekend, I follow up. We did submit an earmark, for those famous earmarks that congressmen give out. I wrote one for this town to get trees. And one of the lines, well, first I wrote and they said, well, wrong account, but try this account. The line I wrote is, for us right now, trees are a luxury. Right? It sucks. But when it comes to our budget, trees are a luxury. But I'm asking for it. I've asked Senator Booker and Congressman Norcross. So if you see any of them, come to support our earmark. Or, excuse me, not allowed to say it's a better, our congressionally directed spending. And the answer to that was not just trees, because as you heard, when they planted trees before, the neighbors didn't want to water them. We didn't have the equipment. So part of that is actually to get like one of those big water buffaloes that our guests can go around and water them. People wanted to put like gardens around like our Welcome Audubon signs. Great, but they'll be dead next week because it's hot and we got nowhere to water them. So if we at least get the hardware, then the long-term piece we can maintain.
How much did you ask for, Rob?
I asked for $60,000.
That's all?
That's it. We're not greedy. That's for about, I think Terry and I talked, about 100 or so households and public areas, and not just saplings. The saplings are gonna die. So
Right.
some that are, a little bit more mature, that have a better chance of surviving. So they're gonna cost what, $1.50 each? And then, of course, the stakes and all this, Most of the stuff that you hear me talk about, I learned from these guys. So when I say it wrong, give me a break, because they haven't taught me everything yet. But then the equipment to water them. He'll spend his Fridays watering everything.
No problem.
Right?
No problem.
So, but we need the hardware. And that's, Audubon has always been pretty tight with our budget, good with our budget. We have reserves, but we're responsible with it. That's stuff I've inherited. So, and I want to leave a legacy of a good financial house, when I leave office. So, yeah, not much at all. I mean, we've learned our ways to get free trees, but to go to the saplings. But the budget, it was a tough one. It was, the health insurance hit me both personally as a county employee, because my own kid, I can't use the specialist he has anymore. We had to switch plans. But I had to say no to trees. I've been waiting for 6 years to put in a damn budget, and my one chance disappeared. So, sorry, I get a little...
Jim and I went into the congressman once in a while. We'll tackle him.
Please do. Please do.
Somebody's got to do this or answer that.
Please do. So, it's not a lie. It's just enough to... And I told them, we'll be your show place. We'll show it off in small towns. But in reality, these middle-class towns, we're screwed. We don't get the resources that those in poverty, and we don't have the tax base to be able to just pay for anything we want. It's tough. It's tough. So I can sit down and just wait and see what other questions people have.
Well, are there any other questions?
I do have one. The New Jersey Tree Foundation that you brought up.
Yes.
I follow them on Instagram, and they do a lot of, they plant everywhere, Camden, Hatfield. Will they donate trees?
They will not.
Okay, so we'd have to get them ourselves. And the only reason I ask is, we service Haddon Heights, and they have their Shade Tree Commission, and every
Correct.
year we're planting about 50 trees that they get donated.
So as part of that program is they would look for the funding that would help us.
Okay.
So indirectly, yes, but through the funding, yes.
Could we start growing the trees from saplings, just maybe I could volunteer part of my driveway or something and start getting.
You got a name there, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing, like Arbor Day, if you all sign up today to be
Yeah.
members of the Arbor Day
Arbor Day.
Foundation, they will send us 10 free saplings.
Yeah.
And there's 3 choices. One of them has predominantly northeast native plants.
Yes.
So we could do those, but you'd have to grow them. And
Yeah.
Elizabeth is willing to help, and I didn't have to do that, but there's people who do. I love that idea. If we could have people help grow the saplings for a year or
It's
two
not
to get
instant,
it moving.
but in
Right.
a couple of years.
It'll help.
It's part of the overall plan.
It works I got the 10 free trees and put a stick in the ground, and it's fairly big now. But I think that it was a long time ago, so, yeah, it takes a long, long time.
Yeah, this is not a year project.
No, it's not a year project, I think it,
No, this is an ongoing,
So,
for the
let's
rest
go to-
of our
I know
lives.
Jim had a question before, the gentleman back there.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, in Haddon Township, their commission, it has to come through government funds. The trees are not donated.
So, a question here, then
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think you want to be careful about what you plant as saplings even. I mean, they start as small trees, but as the picture shows, and I know that street on the left, I don't know if it's Carlisle or which one it is, but anyway, I know one of those streets between Amherst and Whitehurst Pike. The other street is sort of typical of streets like Princeton, Carlisle, Cornell, Yale and Lafayette, and I'm sure for many other streets on the west side. On the left side of the picture, of the photograph, you have 4 or 5 feet of a lawn strip. You can plant some larger trees in that area. On the right, it may just be 2 feet. You aren't going to plant too much. You're never going to get it to look like like the left side.
Correct,
And Amy's mentioned, picking the trees to fit the site.
correct.
You may not even want to plant in a 2-foot strip. I don't know, unless you're planting a cherry. I mean, you're planting a small tree, you have to consider the traffic. But anyway, I wanted us to be realistic, what we think we're going to.
That's why,
Yes.
not every curb strip is like every other, so we have to
Yes, for
pick.
sure.
Mark's been
Don't we have any recourse other than contact and complain to the PUC about what PSC does? We have no control, whatever, there's no way to respond to them as consumers and say, hey.
That's how it's been told to me. I am going to go to my regional person and say, could you do it 1-for-1? Can you do, the one thing that PSNG did do this past year, and I'm going to give you 2 examples, one of them, one of the county. They are building a new substation on Nicholson, which actually for all of us, that's a great thing. That creates more redundancy in the system, and when power goes down, it's going to help the entire region, but us especially. They actually, when they came to the Joint Land Use Board, I asked my engineer to talk to them. They pulled their plan back for a month because they had to hire a landscape architect to redo their plan because I wasn't going to accept it unless we're getting more trees over there. So our net is going to be only about a dozen or so trees, but they're going to be replacing a lot of the weed trees with good native plants. So we're going to see, and that doesn't even count all the shrubs and all that. So shrubs play into the canopy. They help. So the net over on Nicholson, even though a building's going to be there, there will be more better trees and shrubs growing there. With the county, if you've not already heard, in partnership with us and Haddon Heights and money they're going to be redoing Kings Highway. For us, we actually have to do the piping underneath, but we did it all together in one, and they paid for the design work, so it saved us some money. But in the design phase, they looked at trees, and we negotiated. So what's going on? There's 2 sections. There's one bunch of trees, strong and healthy. Some that have to come down. So what's going to happen is they're actually going to widen our strip, narrowing the size of Kings Highway on our side to save a number of our mature trees. So that was us working together with the county, advocating for minute one, and it wasn't that tough. They were on board. They were on board to do that. So it's actually a good thing for speed too. It should slow down speed. But there's a bunch that are going to come down. But they promised from minute one, us and Haddon Heights, for trees that have to come down, they're going to give us the money to replace them somewhere else in town. So, we've got great partners there, but that plan was not going to go forward unless as many of our trees are as protected as possible. So I don't know where, but it's going to be wider on the Audubon side. So maybe people slow down as they come over the hill, right, from Haddonfield. We'll see. But these are things that are happening. So we're at least advocating. We're trying our best. Like the fact that PSG actually pulled their plan back for another month means at least they were listening. And they actually did shut me up that night. It's not easy to do. I had nothing to complain about.
Are there any other questions? Oh, there are. Yes, ma'am.
You have this form about finding out if you can qualify for a tree. Can you give us any general inclination about what would maybe qualify you, or if there's some marker that would disqualify you?
Sure. Yeah, so in the presentation, we talked about doing like a tree evaluation, and what involves that would be the width of the curb strip, utility wires above your property. That would not disqualify you right away, but it would all depend on the width of the curb strip as well.
And the condition of your concrete.
I'm sorry?
The condition of the concrete.
Yeah, the curb's your responsibility. We don't replace that.
Yeah.
The condition of the concrete and the curb also is going to drive the type of tree that can be planted.
You mean like the height of
Yeah, if it's healthy, a lot of the curb stripping concrete in town is destroyed from other trees or because it's old.
Well, yes, I think.
And that was something else that we were looking at before we
Right.
delivered the survey letters.
Yeah, and I think with that, some of the curb that's dripped away, so kind of the grass sort of meets the street in some regards,
Yeah.
and that wouldn't be advantageous. But it's factors like that. Just, we want to make sure that if we're putting a tree there, we're ensuring its success as much as possible.
I'm on a county road, does that have any bearing on whether you could qualify?
No.
No, for us to give,
No.
no, not at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Beyond that, it gets fuzzy.
I have a question.
Yes.
At what point does a curbside tree outgrow its usefulness or beauty or whatever? When it lifts the sidewalk and overgrows the curb and the
You're asking a
balls?
tree hugger this question?
It's been there
You get rid of the sidewalk.
I've already tripped on the sidewalk.
Move the house.
Yeah. Well, that would be, I mean, that would be my question too, is
Okay.
how to save, I would piggyback off of that, because I have a very large tree,
Okay.
which we love, but it is destroying the sidewalk, and it's got a bad lean,
Mm-hmm.
like a real bad lean. People know the lean of my tree. It's very popular.
Popular lean.
Yeah,
On
it
our
is.
street, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also worry about the kid that comes down the street on the scooter, hitting that curb and getting hurt, because then that's my responsibility.
Understood.
So how do I save the tree, but also, how do I keep myself safe and then save the tree
Right.
at the same time?
So, I am by no means a concrete expert, but I would think there are ways where you can sort of, one, highlight that it's an issue with certain color markings, two, possibly parging so that you're essentially creating a ramp effect, possibly.
I did that. That's what I
Yeah.
did in my property.
Okay.
Now, from an insurance company standpoint, that's not my
I think you can
expertise.
also get the